Yes, good morning. It is the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. I want you to get involved with the show. The show is always better when you're a part of it. So thank you for being a part of this. So it's crazy to me that we're waking up this morning, and while we know all the details about the Biden corruption, the Biden crime family, we're still only half of the country. Half of the country has no idea what's going on. It was pre-planned that way. They've been pre-programmed. The left-wing NPCs, as I call them, the non-player characters, the ones that are programmed to just stand on the side of the video game and eat a donut, and they're not actually involved in the actual video game at all. They just do what they've been programmed to do. So as we're learning all of this stuff coming out of the Devon Archer testimony, I think with everything happening, and it is happening, I kind of want to break down where we've been and what we've seen and learned so far. So this is what I've boiled it down to. There's two groupings of investigations going on currently. Okay, group one is the actual crimes, and we're talking Burisma, pay for play, the Chinese CCP tip-offs using a leaker in the DOJ, tax evasion, money laundering, the Mann Act, human trafficking, and more. But those are the main ones, right? And then group two of the crimes, group two is the cover-up. And you know what they say, the cover-up is worse than the crime, and we do have cover-ups. We have coercion and manipulation of social media and news outlets. We have past business associates of the Bidens coming forward. We have FBI whistleblowers, IRS whistleblowers. We have bank records that are coming out. But the cover-up is group two. So this is one of the biggest political scandals in U.S. history. There's so much evidence about the various crimes that it's difficult to wade into it. But those are the two groups, the actual crimes and wrongdoings and the cover-ups by alphabet agencies. And there is hard evidence regarding the Biden family's various crimes. There's also overwhelming circumstantial evidence linking Joe Biden to all this. And I think it's important to note that, circumstantial evidence and the weight of it is enough to convict. And it doesn't automatically mean reasonable doubt exists. And there is hard evidence that the FBI and IRS have intentionally covered up evidence and manipulated the investigations being done. There's hard evidence that the FBI actively subverted amendment rights of U.S. citizens in order to control and manipulate the mainstream narrative and public perception, including the last presidential election. And I think that if you're diving into this and you're trying to convince people, things that you need to research are the laptop leak, the Twitter files, the FBI whistleblowers, the IRS whistleblowers. I think that everybody should be doing their own research. Don't believe anything you read. Don't believe anything you see. Do your own research. So let's go through it. Let's start where it all began. Hunter Biden being hired by Burisma. So he was hired because the company wanted to buy an American oil company that's established within the industry to raise capital. But at the time, Burisma is being investigated for corruption. And Burisma was under the impression that they would lose that in court. But the Burisma executive said, don't worry, Hunter will take care of all of those issues through his dad. Side note, those Burisma executives basically called Hunter a dummy twice, and they said the family dog is smarter than Hunter. And they explicitly say that the only reason Hunter's needed is for his connection to his father. The informant also referred to Joe as the big guy. And this was months before the laptop made that alias widespread. Months. So the CEO talks money and says it costs $5 million to pay one Biden and $5 million to pay another. We know that. We also know that Joe Biden traveled to Ukraine and threatened to withhold a government loan from the U.S. if they didn't fire the prosecutor. He's on video bragging about it. We've seen the video. It's hard to even argue with somebody that doesn't think that video is important. Now, the CEO of Burisma was weary of these dealings again, and he says that he was coerced by the Biden family to maintain the relationship with Hunter and make those payments. And when the investigation started, the CEO of Burisma said he kept records to prove that he was forced to make those payments in case things went to hell. Fast forward, things have gone to hell. and those records include conversations with both Hunter and Joe. Okay, so far. You following? So let's fast forward to the committee hearings where, Marjorie Taylor Greene is up there holding up the pictures and the media is spinning it as Hunter's D-pics. And I think that the reason that it got spun like that was to distract you from the fact that Hunter was violating human trafficking laws. The woman in the picture that Marjorie Taylor Greene held up in the hearing was linked to a prostitution ring. The ring itself is involved in human trafficking. Hunter paid for that woman to fly to Washington one day and fly back to LA the next day. He listed her as an employee of his legal firm, and he used that as a tax write-off. He also had a sex club payment he wrote off as a business expense by mislabeling it as a golf club membership. So basically, Hunter paid money to an organization involved in human trafficking and wrote it off on his taxes. Now, as to the reason Greene brought it up, it was part of a SAR, which is a suspicious activity report that she had from the Treasury. By confirming allegations via the whistleblower by the Ways and Means Committee, is now able to request the specific information uncovered in the investigation related to this. And there was a bonus with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was hilarious. That was pretty cool. I mean, the Democrats seethed after she did that and made a point of order. They complained that they had a deal not to make public information in the suspicious activity report. And the chairman pointed out that this is leaked on the internet and was already public. I mean, the Democrats were roasted. It honestly was brilliant. Initially, I thought Greene was a bit of a dunce, and I didn't like the way she went about it. But upon further examination, what she pulled off there is truly amazing. So fast forward again. Gal Luft's testimony. Luft worked for a nonprofit linked to CEFC, a CCP company. In 2019, he arranged a meeting at the U.S. Embassy in Brussels to give information relating to the Biden family. He outlined monthly payments to Hunter and James Biden, Joe's brother, Uncle James, given in exchange for aiding Chinese interests, the Belt and Road Initiative, and access to FBI connections. So this money was carried by way of Rob Walker. And we have the emails where Rob Walker is CC'd. And you remember those emails. It says 10 held by H for the big guy. So it has been confirmed that Walker transferred money from China to the Bidens via that email. Luft informed them that the Bidens had a leaker inside the DOJ and that Hunter was feeding information about investigations to CEFC associates. He said that Dr. Patrick Ho and Chairman Yi Jinping were tipped off by Hunter that they were being investigated for bribery. So it's been confirmed that these men met and gave money to Walker, and in congressional inquiries, it was shown that Walker gave the money to the Bidens. And there's also hard evidence from the laptop that Hunter met with these men in 2015, when Joe was still vice president. Also, Yi paid Hunter $1 million as a legal retainer upon being arrested. In the trial, the prosecutor arranged so that the name Biden was stricken from the emails. In the trial, the prosecutor put forward a successful motion so that the word Biden could not be brought up during the trial process. Well, who was the prosecutor? The DOJ official who traveled to Brussels to meet with Luft, Daniel Rickenthal. Who else was at that meeting? Well, the FBI agent who subpoenaed Biden's laptop, Joshua Wilson. Information on the laptop corroborated Luft's allegations. And reminder, the laptop was suppressed and only came to light because it was given directly to the media. Concerned that nothing was being done over his testimony, Luft had his lawyer meet with a DOJ official. So who did this lawyer meet with? Well, the man named by the IRS whistleblower as mishandling the investigation, who had suspended the investigation during the election, Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue. All right, you keeping up? Let's fast forward to the plea deal. There are a litany of crimes that have gone uncharged. The IRS whistleblower testimony attested to such, and there are ongoing investigations by the House Oversight Committee. It seems as though Biden's legal team and the prosecution attempted to sneak in future immunity into the bargain that was rejected last week. That's what they were doing. And it almost goes without saying that such a provision would serve to render any future investigation pointless, fruitless, just a lame duck investigation. So a brief rundown. The judge was appointed by Trump. But I will point out, anyone that has taken a civics course knows that senators have veto power. And both are Democrats. And the judge is a Democrat. The DOJ refused to release the plea agreement to the public. It leaked after the hearing. And the night before the hearing, a member of the defense called the court saying they were acting on behalf of the prosecution, that their aim was to have evidence removed from the docket, the evidence related to the recent congressional whistleblower testimony, and shed light on future crimes Hunter could be charged with. So they were threatened with sanctions for this act, but again, it was brushed away. It did, however, highlight the absurdity and the tomfoolery revolving around the future immunity. So the immunity clause was hidden in the diversion agreement, which both sides expected would just be rubber stamped. The judge was not even given the agreement containing the immunity clause until just before the hearing. And then it was reported that before the hearing, Hunter and his lawyers shook hands with the prosecution. Weird. It's a big club and we're not in it, right? So the prosecution was asked multiple times if anything like this agreement had been done before. Was there precedent? The answer was no. The prosecution was put on the spot about future immunity, specifically about the FARA charges, and had to answer those things could still be charged. So Hunter rejected the plea deal because future immunity was taken off the table. And the judge also rejected the agreement because it made her responsible for any prosecution which was unconstitutional. And now here we are today, post Devon Archer testimony. News is still trickling out, but the basic take is that Archer testified that Hunter put his dad on the phone while business associates were present 20 times. Democrats are selling this now as the illusion of access to Joe Biden, which is just so far-fetched that it's truly mind-boggling how anyone could believe that. Hunter, who again was seen as just a fool by some of the people he was dealing with, tricked dozens of international businessmen into paying him millions of dollars by making them think that Joe Biden, the brand, could do things for them. Absolutely hilarious. They all know Hunter's an idiot. So if they know Hunter's an idiot, how can they trick? How can he trick them into that? And it also came back into the narrative that the Russian oligarch gave Biden $3.5 million. I mean, that's old news at this point, but let's be clear, a lot of this stuff is, if you've been paying attention. But the point is, it's finally being reported, and we're finally getting this into the public square. Some people are linking the $3.5 million from the Russian oligarch to the fact that she managed to avoid sanctions, but honestly, you have to read more about it. You can likely find old articles about this stuff. So basically, the Democrats have gone from flatly saying Joe Biden wasn't involved to admitting there's an illusion that Joe Biden was involved. It's a parlor trick. And the Republicans now are emphasizing the importance of the admission that Hunter was literally selling the idea of pay-for-access influence peddling. Oh, yeah, and the DOJ put out a letter about Archer having to report for jail soon over the weekend. The GOP tried to sell that as intimidation, but let's be fair. It was probably more about damaging Devon Archer's credibility in case he testified to anything major. It's pretty hilarious that so many of Hunter's associates were convicted of stuff like bribery and fraud, and the Democrats managed to sell that against them without having it reflect back on the Bidens. I think we're witnessing the downfall of Joe Biden. Does he get impeached? If so, do you want Kamala Harris as your vice president? I mean, as your president? Personally, I don't care. I would like to see him removed from office. And if Kamala is, the new president, at least it's funny. There's certain aspects to each situation, right? Kamala just seems to be high all the time, which is good. I don't think she'll be effective, but she at least has all of her mental faculties, right? And she'll be out in a year or so by the time they manage to get rid of Biden. Biden is obviously fighting for his political life right now. So it also could be good to just keep Biden in the chair so that way he can lose in 24. I don't think neither Biden or Harris have a realistic opportunity to win a national election. But I will say that Biden probably has a better opportunity, even with all the scandals swirling around him. And I know I'll hear the moaning about election fraud, but for the sake of the argument, I'm envisioning it's on the up and up, okay? Kamala would become a Gerald Ford. She'd be guaranteed to lose. So it might be better to go with her just because she's so unpopular, honestly. And Biden rides on this whole folksy union coal mine Joe shtick, which gets him by in elections. But Kamala, she seems like she'd be at least funny to hang out with. But ultimately, letting her be president for a year is probably harmless because she would be worse than Hillary in a debate. I mean, she got roasted by Pence. What do you think? Impeaching Joe Biden, would you take Kamala Harris as president? 615-737-9986. Phone lines are open. Super text line is open. This is the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Former President Trump says he expects to be indicted for a third time any day now. And the accused Long Island serial killer due in court today. We've got a preview coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know there's not one single bit of evidence, not one little tiny bit, to suggest anything done was wrong. You know that, but you keep asking me these questions. It's okay. You're doing what you have to do. But I'm not worried about it. Look, the American public knows me.
Everybody knows you, Joe. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I asked a minute ago if you would be willing to take Kamala Harris as your next president or resident in the White House if Joe Biden does end up getting impeached or stepping down over this latest scandal. It does seem like we're dealing with the biggest scandal in American history. What do you think? 615-737-9986. I got a text from Terry who said, Chuck Schumer will never allow Democrats to vote convict in an impeachment. There is zero risk of Giggles becoming president. Thank you, Terry. 4174 says, Kamala becoming president would be the worst thing that would open the door for Michelle Obama to run and win. That is a scary prospect. I will say, seems like the Obamas are dealing with their own scandals right now. Cedric in Bowling Green, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cedric, would you take Kamala as the next president? Cedric.
No, I wouldn't take us. No.
Not at all. Hello, Cedric, you're on the air.
Yes, no, I wouldn't. But I just had just a brief couple of things to say, if I could.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, but just a man of God, and I listen to your show quite a bit. Y'all make a lot of sense there. I just started listening to your show about a month ago. I'm a truck driver, and y'all speak on a lot of very interesting things. I won't take a lot of your time because I know you got a lot of people waiting. But, I just wish that we could I'm 64 years old, and I wish for me that America could get back to the way it was as far as having the love back in it that it had and this non-separation through this madness of both sides. I mean, we need more love and more prayer back in our country, and we basically need God back in America to where that we can be back the way it was back when I was a little boy.
Cedric, I don't disagree with you. Thank you for the call. My name is Chris Hand. Anything you want to add to the conversation, 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for Ken Weaver in the news.
$9:30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. On social media, former President Trump says he expects to be indicted for a third time. Quote, any day now. We're waiting. Accused Long Island serial killer Rex Hauerman due in court today for the first time since pleading not guilty to murder charges. His estranged wife, Asa Ellerup, speaking with ABC News. Ariel Reschiff at the courthouse there in Riverhead, New York.
Will she testify against Rex Hauerman?
We have not been asked to or contacted by the DA's office or any investigators to that.
Would she entertain the idea of testifying against her husband?
Yeah, it's way too early to even discuss whether she has any relevant information or not on the criminal charges.
Team USA moving on this morning into the elimination round of the Women's World Cup. Maggie Rulli in Auckland with more.
After what was kind of a brutal 98 minutes of play, Team USA in a nail-biter, tying 0-0 against Portugal. It wasn't pretty, but they got the job done, getting out of the group round, coming in second to the Netherlands.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you. And it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. No kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
So question to you.
No basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Joe got $3.5 million.
Nobody thinks Joe Biden did anything wrong. Take it easy, big guy. We know that 10% was not held by H for you. Don't even worry. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Democrats are worried. After Devon Archer's testimony yesterday and everything that's leaking out, Joe was on the phone with the business associates 20 times. And we thought we saw this coming as the narrative started to shift in the Mockingbird media from Joe's never talked about business with his son to Joe's never done business with his son. And I want to remind you, this is how it was going. This is how it started over the weekend with Rep. Goldman, and then I'm gonna play you how it's going. This is how it started with Rep. Goldman out of New York.
The fact of the matter is that this is a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, a Trump-appointed judge. This is a very independent and thorough investigation. And I think that whatever happens in the Hunter Biden case, we can rest assured that it was done based solely on the facts and the evidence, and that there was nothing else to it.
All right, that's how it started with Rep. Goldman over the weekend, yet he was asked yesterday after coming out of that closed-door testimony with Devon Archer, and, this is how it's going now.
And I want to be very clear about one thing. He did describe that there were approximately 20 occasions over the course of their nearly decade-long business relationship where, when one of them called the other, that Hunter Biden would ask his father to say hello to whomever he was at dinner.
And I want to point out, Goldman is sweating, visibly nervous, shaking during all of this. Sweat dripping down his face. He knows he's busted. He knows he still has to carry water for the Bidens. But he's still, instead of telling the truth to the American people, the people that elected him, he still continues with the left-wing Mockingbird media narrative of there's nothing going on, guys. Don't worry. Even though he is visibly shaken in this video.
And I want to be very clear about one thing. He did describe that there were approximately 20 occasions over the course of their nearly decade-long business relationship where, when one of them called the other, that Hunter Biden would ask his father to say hello to whomever he was at dinner. He said there were some times when it was friends and sometimes when it was potential business partners or business partners. But the witness was unequivocal and stated very clearly that they never discussed any business on that phone conversations. There were niceties and there was a hello and we talked about the weather or whatever it was, but it was never any business.
It was just niceties and hello and how's the weather? It was never any business. Like, come on. Like, I think I've watched enough mafia movies to know that, like, you don't talk business on the cell phone. You do it on the burner phone. Like, does anybody expect that Joe Biden is going to be pulled up on speakerphone at the dinner table and say, we need to get more money from China now? Like, nobody ever thought that was realistic. But what the phone calls implied is that Joe was always a phone call away. That just reinforced the influence peddling. That they reinforced that Joe Biden is in their corner. That's what the phone calls were about. That's what Devon Archer implied the phone calls were about. He even went so far as to call Joe Biden the brand. They were selling the brand. And before Joe Biden got involved with Burisma as the brand, Burisma was almost out of business. But they were just talking about the weather and niceties. It's so crazy to me, man. Andy Biggs was caught as he came out of the closed door hearings and was asked his thoughts on what transpired with Devon Archer.
Do you think the President of the United States is compromised based on Archer's testimony?
I think so. And we'll continue to do our due diligence and our research.
On the phone calls, Dan Goldman told us that all of the times that Joe Biden was put on speakerphone or showed up at a dinner, there was always niceties, nothing about business dealings. Is that?
Yeah, but he probably forgot to tell you that Devon Archer himself said that was an implication of who the big guy is. I mean, and Archer talked about the big guy and how Hunter Biden always said we need to talk to my guy. We need to see when my guy's going to be here and those types of things.
Can you talk about the bribe at all? The $5 million bribe and
then it trails off from there. But, you know, I guess what we can really take away is that there were lots of conversations about the weather and how dinner would be going. Any plans for the weekend? You know, are you going to defraud the American public via influence peddling? You know, just little things like that. CNN is actually already bending the narrative. They're cranking that midnight oil. They got the coffee pots boiling, and they're bending the narrative. Here's a headline from CNN. Former business partner says Hunter Biden sold illusion of access to Joe Biden, source says. How come on the GOP side, the whistleblowers are always willing to put their names to their statements, but in left-wing Mockingbird media, nobody puts their name to that. It's just source says. If you believed in the statement, put your name on it. But they never do. Any left-wing media article, I was joking with my father-in-law about this, is like, you can go like 2 to 3 paragraphs down if you think it's BS, and it'll say, sources close to the situation, familiar with the thinking, say. Okay. That doesn't mean anything. If it was real, they would put their name on it. But CNN bends the narrative anyway. Archer's testimony came as House Republicans appear to be shifting their focus away from trying to impeach member of President Joe Biden's cabinet and instead prioritizing efforts to impeach the president himself by linking him to his son's controversial business dealings. Again, we don't need to link Joe Biden to the business dealings. The laptop linked Joe Biden to the business dealings. The text messages linked Joe Biden to the business dealings. The emails, the bank records, the whistleblowers, all of that has linked Joe Biden to his son's business dealings. But what do I know? CNN goes on and says Rep. Goldman, who we just played for you a second ago, told reporters during a break in the hearing that Archer later said that Hunter Biden putting his father on the phone with business associates was part of the daily conversations between father and son, adding, the witness was very consistent that none of these conversations ever had anything to do with any business dealings or transactions. You like how they twist and they bend what they say? Yes, the phone conversations had nothing to do with business dealings. They didn't talk business on the phone. It's like, this is like first grade mafioso stuff. Like, we don't discuss business like that, you know? Of course, they're not going to talk about their scheme on the cell phone, at dinner, on speakerphone. You'd be ridiculous to think that was even a remote possibility. But, I'm not an organized crime expert. I've watched Goodfellas a couple times. I've seen The Godfather. I mean, how they bend the narrative is so important. Well, the witness confirmed they've never talked about business dealings. Yes, because he said that they were selling the brand. It was to show them that Joe Biden was a phone call away at any given moment. These weren't loving conversations between a father and his crackhead son. I doubt there were many loving conversations like that. In fact, some of the voicemails that I heard from the laptop from hell were just plain sad from Joe Biden. The entire family is just plain sad. It's an American tragedy. And if it wasn't for the crime, I would almost feel very, very sorry for them. Like I know so many people that have dealt with addiction, have dealt with family members going through that kind of stuff, and it's sad. Like my heart would go out to them. But the fact of the matter is, the president leveraged his crackhead son to do these influence deals in plain sight. But they only talked about the weather. Okay. Yep. I have some oceanfront property for you in Arizona. You know, I have a bridge in San Francisco I can sell you. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the discussion. 7987 texted and said, Chris, couldn't the weather discussions be coded language because they know people listen to and record calls? Yeah. I mean, obviously, that would be speculation on our part, but it wouldn't be far-fetched. You know, rappers say make it rain all the time when they're talking about money. So, who am I to say that's not what they were talking about?
Yeah, 1476 said the whether or not you have deposited my money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's in plain day. It's in plain day. 6447 texted in and said, there's a more important issue that needs to be discussed, and that's that there's 120 banks testing Biden's digital currency. Yep. Digital currency is a big deal, and that's on the way too. But I think that we need to deal with what's in front of us, and what's in front of us right now is the Devon Archer testimony. 1509 texted in and said, if you're going to make a casual phone call to your father and talk about the weather, why wouldn't you do it on your own private time? You don't do those things in front of business appointments. That's why it's so laughable. How can the liberals and Democrats still try to twist, lie, and deceitfulness to the American public? You're absolutely right, 1509. I never interrupt business meetings for phone calls with my dad. Like, I love my dad.
Of course.
And I'm not a crackhead. Maybe it's just crackhead things. Maybe we don't understand how that brain works.
Hey, sorry, I got to interrupt this important business meeting. My dad's going to tell me it's 70s and sunny tomorrow. So.
Hold on. You got to check in with my dad. Let him know I'm not hanging out with the wrong people again. Maybe that was it. Maybe that does make a little bit more sense. John texted in and said, Chris, Hunter couldn't talk business because he was unqualified to do so. Yep. The only business Joe was on the call for was influence. And Joe was the only reason Hunter was getting paid for the Biden family. The Dems hope we're all stupid. You're absolutely right, John. They do hope we're all stupid. In fact, I would even wager that they think we're all stupid. They at least think that our GOP is weak and not going to do anything about it. And it's to be determined if they are weak or if anything will get done about this. But I got my popcorn ready, and I'm here for it. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Indictment watch and an alleged New York serial killer due in court. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. All right, so a friend of mine is calling in after 10 o'clock, a friend from Turning Point USA. Her name is Alex Clark, and she told me that she wants to debate the Barbie movie on the merits.
Wow. So she's more pro Barbie.
She's a pro Barbie.
Ooh, it's going to be tough.
She actually was wearing a T-shirt on Instagram that said anti-Biden Barbie, which I thought was pretty funny.
That is good.
But so Alex Clark is a TPUSA contributor. And she said, I got some stuff I want to come on and talk about that we're announcing at TPUSA. And I also want to debate Barbie with you. I said, Alex, you're coming into the lion's den. Like, this is hostile territory for the Barbie movie. Like, I mean, Ken Weaver hasn't even brought it up since seeing it because it's such hostile territory for the Barbie movie.
My job is beach.
What did you think about the Barbie movie, Ken?
Dude, I thought it was funny.
Did you?
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things, Chris. I'm sorry.
All right. I thought it was going to be a lot more hostile territory than it was. Apparently now it's a handicap match, 3-on-1. It's just going to be me versus Alex and Mac and Ken.
Oh, shoot.
Elon Musk tweeted out, if you take a shot every time they mention the patriarchy in the Barbie movie, you'll be drunk before you leave the theater.
Now, that's interesting because he's right.
Were you drunk before you left the theater?
No. But I'm saying there's a lot of patriarchy and what's the other one? Matriarchy. A lot of patriarchy and matriarchy.
Ugh. All right, well.
He's disgusted.
I'm so disappointed in you two. But we're gonna talk about that with Alex Clark from Turning Point USA, plus what Turning Point USA has going on in the coming months after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me off air, Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social. I'm at Chris Hand on air. And the Super Text line is always there for you, 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Mounting legal troubles for Donald Trump. The former president says his indictment in the January 6th case could come any day now, with the grand jury expected to meet today. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Steve Onsunsami says security officers at the Fulton County Courthouse working this morning to prepare for the impact of possible indictments for alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
The orange barricades that they've set up are likely just the very beginning. We're probably going to see street closures, other measures when this indictment comes down, similar to what we saw when some of the bigger figures in this investigation were called down to Georgia to testify.
Now, this comes as Trump's new co-defendant, Carlos de Oliveira, headed to his first court appearance, tied to an alleged cover-up involving those classified documents stored at Mar-a-Lago. And right now in New York, Ariel Reshef reports from the courthouse in Riverhead.
Suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann is expected in court as his estranged wife Asa Ellerup breaks her silence about the wrenching fallout from her husband's arrest, telling ABC News overnight, "My children have been crying themselves to sleep, and I've been crying myself to sleep too. Every time my kids go through something, they open a box. Every single time, they cry."
Later today, it is National Night Out. It's a time to promote police, community partnerships, and bring neighborhoods together. And in Hermitage, Metro Police and Box 55 Association will be at the Truck Stop Food Park on Donaldson Pike from 5 until 8 p.m. They ask that you consider donating Gatorade, water, and packaged snacks, which Box 55 uses to help firefighters, police, EMS, and other first responders when they answer the call of duty to incidents like fires, search and rescues, SWAT, hazmat, major crashes, and other extended operations. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
10:04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm joined now on the line by the one and only Alex Clark of Turning Point USA. Alex is a Turning Point USA contributor. She hosts a couple successful podcasts. She's an absolute star. Alex, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm very jealous because I just heard you give the weather report over there, and it's probably like 1:11 right now, and it's only 8 a.m. for me in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, my gosh. I remember when I was in Phoenix, one of the weirdest things that I realized is, like, the wind blows hot air.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you guys, don't mind. It's nice where you are. Trust me.
I'm not complaining about what we have going on here in Tennessee one bit. At all. But what is going on in Phoenix right now? I know that there's a big announcement today with Turning Point USA that you guys are all excited about.
Yeah, so registration opens today for Turning Point USA's massive conference this December. It's called America Fest. And basically, how I like to explain it is Coachella for conservatives, because this is multiple days of the top speakers in the movement. We've had everybody from Donald Trump to Tucker Carlson speak at these events. And at night, there are massive concerts going on. So it truly is like the conservative Coachella. And registration opens today at amfest.com. We are running the lowest prices through Labor Day. Right now, it's the early bird special. So general admission for adults over 35 years old is $200. It will not be that low again. This is for America Fest in Phoenix in December. Student tickets right now, $50. $50. Again, best speakers in the movement, all the regulars that you know and love. And then there's also going to be a lot more announced at a later date. And then we have Saturday night concerts and even a worship night concert on Sunday with well-known Christian artists. So it is a great time. And this is the one event that Turning Point does every single year that I think is definitely a family-friendly event. So this is a really good one to bring your kids to. Just bring everyone. Enjoy the speakers. Enjoy Phoenix, Arizona in December. Get a break from the cold because that's when we get to switch. That's when you'll be jealous of my weather.
Yes, exactly. So. and I think it's important to point out that it's not $50 tickets for one day for students. It's not. This is like a 4-day massive event.
Yeah, it's huge. It's basically a festival is the best way to put it. And it's called America Fest, put on by Turning Point USA. That's Charlie Kirk. Every December in Phoenix. You can get your tickets today for the lowest price through Labor Day, amfest.com.
Yeah, I'm on the website right now, amfest.com. I'm excited. I'm going to be there. I'm going to try and do my show live while I'm there. So I'm definitely going to have you on as a guest as well. But I think that, there's a real reason that we're here. It's not just about AmFest. We spoke about this briefly yesterday, and I let my audience know you are pro Barbie.
I'm so pro Barbie. It hurts, Chris. It hurts.
Why are you pro Barbie, Alex? I thought you were a conservative.
I'm very conservative. I actually consider myself to be very, very far right, more conservative than most of my friends. And I went to see the movie on Sunday. And let me tell you, I went into it open-minded. I was like, I genuinely don't want to come in with preconceived notions about it being woke or whatever. I just want to see how I feel after watching it. Chris, the movie was phenomenal. Okay. They mentioned the word patriarchy several times.
What?
But what no conservative is talking about, this is the thing that I'm like, why was nobody talking about this? I keep hearing everybody say it's so woke. They talk about the patriarchy. They do. And at the end of the movie, Barbie realizes that it's not good for women to be in charge and for men to be in the shadows. And it's not good for men to be in charge and women feel purposeless and in the shadows. He literally realizes and decides that both genders deserve to feel like they have a purpose and that they matter and that neither is better than the other. It's actually one of the most anti-feminist movement movies I have ever seen. The entire movie is basically a roast of what modern day feminism has become, the entire first half of the movie. So I am confused. I am convinced basically that every conservative who has been trashing it has either not seen it, or they are lying about it being woke to just rile people up on social media.
Okay, so here's why I'm anti-Barbie. First of all, full disclosure, I haven't seen it and I won't. Okay.
See, you can't listen to him. You can't listen to him. He's admitting he's a thief. I'm telling you, it's great.
You can tell people not to listen to me on your show, but on my show they have to listen to me. Okay, that's just full disclosure. All right, so here's my problem. It's PG-13. It's Barbie. It's clearly marketed at young girls. Young girls are going to see this, right? There's definitely feminism in the movie interwoven, and little girls are going to go see this and have that subliminally imprinted on them. What's your response to that?
My response is, one, you're right. It's not a movie for kids. This is for adults. This is for people my age. This is for mothers and daughters of like teen years to go see together. There's a huge mother-daughter like subplot to this and about a mother-daughter relationship. But also, that's why I'm telling you, it's not as bad as you think. The end of the movie, Chris, they literally say things like, it's okay to just want to be a mom. This is something Barbie says. It is, even if a young girl were to see it, the end message proves that neither men or women are better than the other, that we desperately do need each other. And there's just so much in the movie. I will say this, the movie is not for guys. There's so many like inside jokes that girls have growing up when it comes to playing with Barbies and things like that are going to go over a guy's head. We had one guy in our friend group come. We all loved it, and he hated it. He said, I didn't get it. I didn't get the jokes. Like, it wasn't funny to me. And I'm like, exactly, because you're not a girl. It really is for the girls. But if you're a parent and you're hesitant and you have an older teen daughter, I think it's perfect for her. I wouldn't take a little girl because she's just not going to understand. But I think adult women and older kids or teenagers should absolutely go see it. Don't fall into this whole thing about it being woke. It's not, I'm telling you.
But don't you think that that's part of the issue, that it's like Barbie is such a young girl thing that whether people want it to be an adult girl movie or not, little girls are going to go see this. Like that's my biggest hang up on this, is that no matter how good of a movie it is, the marketing is going to attract a much younger audience than the movie's designed for.
I mean, when I went, I didn't see any kids in the audience. The rating being PG-13, I think, should tell you that it's not a kids movie. And when I say it's not a kids movie, it doesn't mean there's anything inappropriate. There isn't. I think there might be like 2 minor swear words and like a fight scene, and it's funny fight. It's like the Kens fighting each other and stuff. But there's nothing majorly inappropriate, which is why it got that rating. I'm saying it's not for kids because I just think a lot of the big messaging, which was fantastic, will just be over their head. But visually, I think it's fun for kids because it's beautiful, it's bright colors and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, what's really cool about it from a cinematic standpoint, none of it is CGI. It's just a really cool movie to see how they built the sets, and the costumes are incredible. And yeah, and I think it's really cool too. And here's the other thing. I think it's really, really pro-traditional feminine energy, because guess what this movie is doing? It's bringing women out in droves dressed up in dresses and heels and pearls and beautiful headbands. They're dressing their best. Everybody's coming out and seeing this movie. It's making the movie theater great again. It was so fun to go see a movie in theater for once after all this time. And just go see it. Just go see it if you're on the fence. I can't.
My producer's like pointing at me and laughing because like I have like a stone face. I'm like, you're not selling me. Like I even heard that there's I heard that there's a scene where she even puts on a Hillary Clinton pantsuit. Like,
I don't remember that happening.
This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing from the people. I keep my ears to the streets, Alex. I'm hearing that there's Hillary Clinton pantsuits, and then there's transgender Barbies. There's morbidly obese Barbies.
Okay, that's a good point that you bring up. Okay, so I will say my biggest issue with the movie, because they do such a good job of speaking to what it means to be a woman, and to cast a trans person as a female, I found very insulting. And they have a very minor role. They literally say like 2 lines. But that to me was the biggest slap in the face and really negated a lot of the purpose and messaging of the movie. Speaking of, like, nobody understands except girls what it means to be a girl. And so to cast a trans person was so anti, I feel like, what they were trying to do with this movie. So that was a huge mistake. And then, yes, there is a morbidly obese Barbie. And again, you know, just showcase healthy bodies. Nobody too thin, nobody too overweight. Neither is good. That's dangerous. But otherwise, I found it to be great. I didn't have any other issues.
To be honest with you, with the way Hollywood is so woke, I was shocked that Lizzo wasn't going to be playing Barbie.
Oh, absolutely shocked. But you know what? So Lena Dunham, and I don't know how familiar you or your audience is with Lena Dunham, but she is a director. She was in the HBO show Girls. She's the most woke feminist person, I mean, ever. She is going to be directing the new Polly Pocket live-action movie that's coming out soon. And so that movie I do anticipate to be extremely woke, and basically everything that a lot of the hardcore leftist feminists were hoping Barbie would be. I think that the Polly Pocket movie is going to be that because it's Lena directing. And, you know, I also want to point out Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie, she was originally going to cast Amy Schumer to play Barbie, also another super woke lib feminist. And Amy declined because she said the movie wasn't going to be woke enough. And so that's why Margot Robbie is Barbie now. So I think Polly will be everything that Barbie wasn't, which is just more ammo and evidence that you should see Barbie.
So you're still not selling me. And I think that, like, Hollywood is getting so lame. Like, with a writer's strike, they still can't come up with, there's no original ideas. Why are we doing Barbie and Polly Pocket and just random kids' toys? I feel like they're preying on the 90s nostalgia of people like you and I to try and get us out to the theaters because nothing else is working.
I think that's a fair point. And look, at the end of the day, if you're like Chris and you're stubborn and you refuse to go see Barbie, and you know you don't want to see anything else, or you're not sure what else to see, go see Sound of Freedom. I think that's something everyone can agree on. Fantastic movie, and all about the dangers and realities of human trafficking, sex trafficking with children. So that's a great movie to go see and support right now. And they just announced that they are opening it up globally. It's going to be in countries all over the world now because it's done $150 million in the box office in the United States already in the first couple weeks. So that's absolutely incredible news. So if you won't go see Barbie, at least go see Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, just to harp back on one point, you called me stubborn. I like to think I'm based. But, you know, that's a conversation. We can have that conversation a different time. All right. So, again, why you're here is America Fest 2023, which is launching today. You can get tickets today. Tell me again about the tickets, where I can get the tickets, and why we need to be at America Fest 2023.
America Fest is the biggest event that Turning Point USA puts on every year. If you don't know, Turning Point USA puts on the best events in the conservative movement. I'm talking pyrotechnics and like crazy production value. Yep. You feel like you are at the Taylor Swift Eras tour without Taylor Swift. But
more woke stuff. It's
more woke. I know it. But the thing about America Fest is it actually really is, I say, conservative Coachella, because it's 4 days of the biggest speakers in the conservative movement, everyone from Tucker Carlson to Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ted Cruz, you know, Don Jr., all these people. But then at night, there are amazing, huge country concerts. So America Fest registration opens today, amfest.com. These are the lowest prices right now through Labor Day only. Right now, general admission for adults over 35 years old is $200. It will not be that low again after Labor Day. Student tickets are only $50. Best speakers in the movement, all the ones that you know and love, plus more, are going to be announced at a later date. And then concerts at night, plus a worship night on Sunday with well-known Christian artists. So that's super fun as well. amfest.com. Early bird special through Labor Day.
I know, and I've heard some of the rumors about who could be coming, I am so excited for these speakers to be announced. I will say the tickets, are a great deal right now. Don't wait to see if your favorite artist or your favorite speaker is coming. Get your tickets now. They do this in Phoenix because it's not a show for a small town. So there's going to be more people announced. I'm very, very excited, and I can't wait to see you there, Alex.
I can't wait to see you too. And the whole family can go. This doesn't have to be something that you go alone. Bring your kids. amfest.com, Phoenix, Arizona, this December. And it's a beautiful time of year to be in Phoenix. If you've never been out here, you can take a couple of days, make your trip longer, go to Sedona, go to Scottsdale. It's a really, really fun time to come out west.
Yeah, the Grand Canyon's like a hop and a skip. Before I let you go, tell me where people can find you and how they can listen to your show.
All right, subscribe to Real Alex Clark on YouTube. I have so many crazy videos. We just put a man on the street video out. I went out on the streets in Miami, and I asked people, guys and girls, if body count matters. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up on Urban Dictionary. But I asked if body count matters. That's out right now, Real Alex Clark on YouTube. And you can find my podcast. I put out a new interview every single Friday with somebody that has a jaw-dropping life story or expertise on a different cultural subject. And my podcast is called The Spillover. You can subscribe to The Spillover wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for having me on today, Chris.
Thank you so much for being here, Alex. I really appreciate it. Alex Clark, she's one of a kind. It is 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mac, turn that down.
Grand jury meeting, COVID-19 outlook. These stories and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I can only assume it's all good news, Ken Weaver.
Oh, it's all good news.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the first day of August. A lot of the Super Texters still aren't going to see Barbie, believe it or not. Somebody texted in and said, I think Chris's producer is a middle-aged woman in her 40s in a pantsuit.
What?
That's you, Mac Maury.
All right.
Pantsuit Mac.
Trying to give off some different imagery here.
Something that your guest brought up, and it just dawned on me. I only saw one little girl in the theater whenever I saw it.
Oh, wow.
And it was mostly adults.
Well, isn't it the whole thing? If it saves one life, you know, we got to save that little girl.
But you know what? I bet you everything went over that little girl's head.
No, I'm sure it did.
I mean,
I at least hope so.
But there are some moments. If you have littles, you'd probably want to, it'd be a teachable moment.
Yeah, I like to look at teachable moments as avoidable moments, rather than learn the hard way. Let's just avoid it for now, kids. But yeah, that was Alex Clark. She's amazing. Find her on Instagram, YouTube, Real Alex Clark. Big fan of hers. She's just as sweet in person as she is. She's the same person that you heard on the air. She doesn't mind pushing back. And she actually does speak up to a lot of the woke trash that's going on. Believe it or not, based on her view on the Barbie movie, she is on the front lines in the culture war, and I'm a big fan of hers. So definitely check her out. All right, so there is so much news going on today. Devon Archer, basically ratting on the Bidens, and Kamala Harris, she's been looking at this, and I know that she's just been licking her lips because she knows that this is putting her another step close to one day being the president of the United States. I think that there's a real possibility that Biden may step down. I think there's a real possibility that he could be impeached. Here's what Kamala Harris thinks about impeachment possibilities.
On the heels of the Hunter Biden plea deal falling apart, what's your reaction to the Speaker of the House floating this idea of an impeachment inquiry?
I don't really have much to say about, again, the kind of the cinema and the grand gestures that are political games.
It's just political games. Nothing to see there. But she's just rubbing those hands together, being like, oh, yeah, let's keep playing the games because she wants to have the big chair. She's had some disastrous approval ratings, and she was asked about that in her ABC interview. I will point out that she does have the highest approval rating for any female vice president we've ever had.
There are reports that say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president. I'm curious how much of a role, if any, that you feel race and gender play in that?
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings. I think the point that has to be made is that there are attempts to create distractions away from the accomplishments of our administration.
Yep, just distractions. I will say that at least she doesn't bite on the race card, despite being thrown the alley-oop from the reporter at ABC. And that was the most shocking thing about that. Not the fact that she claims that she has good approval ratings elsewhere that we just haven't seen. The most shocking thing about that was that she didn't play the race card, even though it was served up to her on a silver platter. But, there's more time for that. I'm sure she'll get back to playing the race card as soon as she can. She's distracted with visions of the big chair in the Oval Office. So let's not fault her for that. It is 10:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The Super Text line is 615-737-9986. And now, my friends, time for Ken Weaver in the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And inside the federal court building in Washington, D.C., the grand jury appearing to meet once more today In anticipation of a predicted third indictment for former President Trump, Catherine Falder's outside the courthouse.
Typically would happen next if an indictment were to come is this grand jury would need to vote. It would be handed up. It would be delivered to the magistrate judge. Of course, we haven't seen any of the grand jurors since they have been meeting behind closed doors today. But around this courthouse where we have spent years of time, frankly, staking this out, waiting for some sort of action, there does appear to be a bit of a heightened security presence around the building.
Now, concerns are growing about COVID-19 cases after a 12% increase in hospitalizations last month, but medical contributor Dr. John Brownstein says there's no cause for major concern.
Deaths are stable. There could be some reporting delays, but overall, the outlook is still good. We have to remember that a big percentage off a small number is still a small number. So while the percentage seems alarming, we really are not returning to this crisis level at the moment.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you. And it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. No kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for USS, United Structural Systems. Now, these guys at USS, they are so good, hardworking, and honest, and it's easy to see why they take the stress out of home repair. So let me ask you this. Are you seeing settling sidewalks on your driveways, sinking slabs or patio steps? Are your porch steps tilted? Has your sidewalk or patio shifted? Well, then you may need to check out USS and their poly-lift system. It's way less expensive than concrete replacement. It has higher load capacities than traditional approaches, such as mudjacking. They won't change the color in your concrete, and there won't be any damage to your grass or landscaping. They'll have the work done in a couple of hours, and you can walk on it immediately and drive on it in 30 minutes. You got to check these guys out if you have any of those symptoms. Your sidewalk or patio shifting, your patio or sidewalk creating a trip hazard. Call USS. They'll take the stress out of home repair. They're online at USSTN.com, or you can call them at 615-488-7855. They have 25,000 satisfied customers, and I'm confident that you're going to be number 25,001. 615-488-7855 or USSTN.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand. Ooh, there's something special about that glass shatter in the music. Just takes you back to like the 90s.
Let's go.
Let's go. Kamala Harris, she is up front and center. And this week, you know, while the big guy's on the beach and he's facing all of these accusations, all of this evidence coming out, I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot more Kamala Harris because she's got her eye on the Oval Office. So she recently sat down with PBS, the state-funded operation over there, PBS, and she was asked about climate change. Oh, everybody's favorite topic. And Kamala Harris, she just has a way with words.
So you look at, for example, young voters. I've been traveling the country meeting with our young leaders who in particular are talking to me about the climate crisis. They turned me on to a term I had not heard before. I said, tell me how you all are thinking about the climate crisis. And they shared with me a term, climate anxiety. They're concerned about their future in almost a doomsday fear about what might be within a couple of decades of now. They're concerned about whether they should have children, whether they should even try to buy a home, because what does the future hold for that prospect?
Oh, climate anxiety. Oh, what are we going to do with the ever-changing climate? Here's the thing. Young people may have climate anxiety, and I would wager it's because of the propaganda that has been shoved down our throats since we were in grade school about climate change. I mean, acid rain, ice ages, the boiling oceans. Oh my gosh, Martha's Vineyard's going to be underwater. We've been fed these lies since we were little, tiny kids. It is not shocking to me that young people in America have climate anxiety. I mean, since I've been alive, I was born in 1988. Since I've been alive, I've probably survived 10 climate catastrophes where the world was going to end in 5 years or less, depending on who you talk to, whether it's, old John Kerry or Greta Thunberg. Everybody's saying that the world is going to end every time we turn on the TV if we don't do something. And we don't do anything also. I mean, they want us to switch to electric cars, but we're not actually fixing anything with that. We're just outsourcing our emissions to places that, we don't care about or see. That nobody ever worries about little kids mining for lithium in Africa. That's not a big deal. That nobody worries about that. Nobody seems to care that our electric cars are powered by electricity from coal plants. But that's not a big concern. But this climate anxiety, the world's going to end. Thank goodness our fearless leaders keep buying beachfront property so they can be right on the edge of this battle for us. Such bravery. It's so stunning. She was also asked on PBS, state-funded, government-funded PBS, about why she's not polling well, why the Democrats in general aren't polling well with urban communities.
The President of the United States has said no to what a lot of Democrats are calling for, expansion of the court. If that's off the table in terms of the administration, what is on the table to stop, as I said, this tsunami that could go on for decades?
Well, first of all, the issue of the court.
I'm sorry, that was the Supreme Court. Here is Kamala Harris on polling poorly in the black community.
The President of the United States has said...
Nope, that's not it. I don't have it. Anyway, she was asked about polling poorly in the black community, and she basically brushed it off, saying, you know, they're just uneducated. They got to do a better job of getting out in front of the voters and explaining to them all of their successes. Yes, so much success in the black community, thanks to the Democrats. I mean, look at these blue sanctuary cities. They're just bastions of freedom where basically everybody is begging to stop being overrun with illegal aliens. That shouldn't have anything to do with your polling in the black community. Ice Cube was on with Tucker Carlson on his Twitter show and basically said point blank, we get a lot of promises in the black community and nobody ever follows through. They want our vote, but then after they get it, they don't care. That's what Ice Cube said. And it's so true. They sell the black community a bill of goods every election. Every single election, a bill of goods is sold. But nobody seems to notice that there's no action. From Breitbart.com, Democrats fear black voters will not show up for President Joe Biden in the presidential election next year, should he be the nominee, according to reports. Why is this a fear? Didn't Joe Biden get more votes in certain cities than Barack Obama? That's what I thought happened. I thought they loved him. Old Uncle Joe. Minus Corn Pop, I thought everybody in the black community loves Uncle Joe. Well, a piece in the Washington Post details these concerns, largely attributing Biden's path to the White House in 2020 to the role of black voters. As I said, he got more votes than Barack Obama from the black community. It was amazing. I'd never seen anything like it. No one had. So the White House in 2020, their path there was on the backs of black voters. And according to the report, Democrats are at least partially basing their newfound concern on the steep decline in participation in the midterm election last year among black voters, dropping from 51.7% in 2018 to 42% in 2022, a difference of almost 10 points. More specifically, these declines were seen in key states like Georgia, the center of Democrats' plans to mobilize black voters in large margins for Biden in 2024. This is catastrophic for the Democratic Party. If they lose the black vote, if they lose the African-American vote, their goose is cooked. They will not win another election for 100 years without the African-American vote. Full stop. They just won't. And thanks to the internet, thanks to what's been exposed in COVID, thanks to what's been exposed with the LGBTQ and alphabet mafia pushing their agendas, they have successfully alienated the black community. They promise criminal justice reform, and it sounds great, but what it really means is less cops in your neighborhood keeping people safe. Now, Breitbart goes on. The drop in black turnout has become a focus for Democratic leaders as the party reorients to next year's presidential contest. Biden's election in 2020 hinged on narrow victories in Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I know I'll get a bunch of super texts about those narrow victories because, they were shocking. Democratic activists are cautioning that the party can't afford to let support from black voters slip. Mondale Robinson, founder of the Black Male Voter Project, shared a dire assessment of Democrats' potential turnout problems with black men. In many of the battleground states, he said, many black men are sporadic or non-voters, meaning they are registered, but have voted in one or none of the past 3 presidential elections. Robinson said Democrats are spending way too much time focused on converting conservative-leaning white women in the suburbs who they see as swing voters, and instead, he said, they should focus more on turning out black men, viewing them as swing voters who are debating whether to vote or stay at home. I've been seeing lots of videos on the internet. This is what I do in my time. I scour the internet for all sorts of videos, and there are black men in large numbers who are saying they will be voting Trump for the first time. That everybody understands the economy was better under Trump. There was less woke stuff under Trump. Politics happen in your pocketbook. The black community is hurt first by this inflation. They're hurt first by the illegal immigration, and those are both results of the policies of the Biden administration. And everyone who has eyes to see, despite what the media will tell you not to look at it, everybody can see that. Citing black voter advocates, the Post concluded that many black male voters feel alienated by both sides and do not feel as if their lives have improved under Democrats or Republicans, leading to a general sense of disillusionment in the political process. And experts worry that the left's obsession with former President Donald Trump will do nothing to motivate young black voters to head to the polls. In other words, the left's current messaging, namely attacking Trump, is not working to motivate the voters they need to show up. I would even point out it's probably doing the opposite. It's probably motivating them to go the other way. You have been attacking toxic masculinity. You have been ruining the family unit, pushing the LGBTQ, transgender alphabet mafia ideology on these people's children, on everyone's children. And the black community is historically conservative, Christian. They vote Democrat because they don't, stray from the herd, it seems like. But if you sit down with someone and you actually go over it line by line, policy by policy, the black community is conservative, majority Christian. It is not hard to motivate the black community to vote conservative. But what they need to do as Republicans is get out there and talk to people. This is a huge area for growth. Black unemployment was the lowest ever under Donald Trump. That was noticed. That was absolutely noticed in the black community. Wages were up. We were all living better under Donald Trump's economy than we are today. But there is no debate about that. But the Republican Party needs to realize in cities like Chicago and areas like Atlanta, Georgia, we need boots on the ground, getting out there, spreading the word and spreading the message. This is a huge opportunity for growth for the Republican Party, and we can't let a good crisis for the Democrats go to waste. When the black community sees the Biden family getting away with crimes that they would go to jail for years, that is a huge linchpin moment. We can isolate that and say, you would go to jail for this. These people don't care about you. The Democratic Party doesn't care about anything but your vote if you're African American. And the minute you step outside of that box, they'll attack you. Look at Ice Cube. Look at Kanye West. Look at Ben Carson. Biden himself says, if you don't know who to vote for between me and Trump, you ain't black. These are the same people that wrote the disastrous crime bill of the 90s. Kamala Harris put more African Americans in jail for marijuana and then laughed about it when asked on The Breakfast Club, a popular hip-hop morning show in New York City. Just completely laughed it off. The Democrats don't care about the black community. They just don't. But we need boots on the ground to illustrate that point. This is a huge opportunity for us to grow. The media won't tell them about this at all. But it's true. It's happening. We need boots on the ground to mobilize and get behind this effort. 615-737-9986 is the number to text. 4228 just texted in and said, I'm a black male, never voted. I'll be voting for Trump in 2024. That's what I'm talking about. It's unbelievable. 1696, our friend Kathy texted in and said, Chris, if Democrats are losing the ability to get black voters to the polls, this might be a prime opportunity for the Republicans to swoop in and court them. I don't even want to court them. I don't think Republicans need to promise them anything except a fair shake. Even Donald Trump's, all the investment in the black community, all that. I don't think that you even need to go that far. I think you just need to point out the hypocrisy of the left and highlight what the right will do. Highlight that the Democrats commit crimes that would put your sons and daughters in jail. The Democrats don't get charged. It's not hard. It's absolutely not hard. 615-737-9986. Kyle said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Biden. Yep. I mean, that's the truth. It's the absolute truth. This is a huge opportunity for us. And you see it in Chicago. The residents of Chicago, the black community in Chicago, being overrun with illegal aliens. Their democratically elected leadership doing nothing to help them. We need to highlight those areas and point it out. Shine a light on it. Make the point. Have the conversation. We need to have more of a grassroots movement to mobilize the vote in the Republican Party. It is 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for being here. Find me off air on Twitter, Instagram, and True Social at Chris Hand on air. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
What do you get when you work at a logistics company?
A request for a pause in consideration of a proposed deal to renovate Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We'll tell you about it coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mr. Ken Weaver. Super text line has been going crazy. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So we have a lot of people coming in saying that, yes, we do need to get involved in the black community and let them know what's going on with the Democrats. And I got a great text from a super texter, 2742. She shared an article with me. A Tennessee school district staff was trained on how white Christians are privileged. Yeah, the Clarksville Montgomery County School System held an Engage conference on July 19th to train the staff about oppression and privilege. We're going to talk about that after 11 o'clock. I just tweeted out the link in case you can't wait. At Chris Hand on Air is my Twitter. I'm not going to call it X, but this is crazy. There's a whole packet and PowerPoint project about how white Christians are privileged and everyone else is oppressed. And this is being taught in the Clarksville Montgomery County School System. We'll talk about that after 11 o'clock. Also, after 11 o'clock, there's been some major developments in the Biden family. And these developments don't involve Hunter or Joe or Uncle James or Jill or the new grandkid. Yeah, you might have missed it if you weren't paying attention, but I'm here to pay attention for you. This is what I'm going to do on the Chris Hand Show. That's all on the way after 11 o'clock. Racism in Tennessee school districts and more news from the Bidens. But news, I swear, you probably haven't heard. It is 10:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for being here. Here's the news.
11 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in Nashville, the Tennessean says Bristol Motor Speedway today requested a pause in consideration of a proposed deal to renovate Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway until the next mayor and council take office. The deal is still on the table, and Bristol is confident it'll move forward under the next mayor and council. This deal calls for $17 million from the state, another $17 million from Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation, the rest from revenue bonds issued by the Metro Sports Authority, paid for by diverted sales tax revenue. Now, those bonds would be backed by Metro should revenue be insufficient to cover debt payments. And with 2 more criminal indictments looming in Georgia and Washington for former President Trump, legal contributor and attorney Jeffrey Robbins on whether all 4 expected cases can be finished before the 2024 presidential election.
It's going to really be a challenge. We're really now up against it if that's going to happen. A lot of witnesses, a lot of legal theories. There are going to be a lot of Hail Mary passes thrown by the Trump team, like the one that they threw and lost yesterday when they tried to get the prosecution precluded. And so it's sort of hold on to your hats in terms of the timing of the 4 criminal cases that the former president is likely to face now.
Jury deliberations underway in the Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue massacre trial. 12 jurors deciding whether Robert Bowers, already convicted of carrying out the worst anti-Semitic killing in American history, gets the death penalty or life in prison without parole for the 2018 attack. And later today, it's National Night Out, a time to promote police community partnerships and bring neighborhoods together. In Hermitage, Metro Police and Box 55 Association will be at the Truck Stop Food Park on Donaldson Pike. They ask that you consider donating Gatorade, water, and packaged snacks, which Box 55 uses to help firefighters, police, EMS, and other first responders on extended operations. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Here we go. It's 11:04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I always get nervous saying what temperature it is out because my computer never updates. 87 degrees. Sunny. Hot. But, we had Alex Clark on from Turning Point USA earlier, and she said it's 111 degrees in Phoenix.
That was at like 8 a.m. when she got her time when she called us.
So, trust me, things could always be worse.
Yes.
Speaking about bad things that could be worse, there's definitely an assault happening on our schools and the curriculum. And I say it all the time, just because we live in a conservative area doesn't mean that we should let our guard down, okay? And I got a story sent to me from a listener on the super text line, 615-737-9986. And this is one of the best things about the super text line is that we can crowdsource new information and important topics in real time. And I truly appreciate you for that. So I got this story from a listener minutes ago. This is how real time we can do things on the show because of the super text line and your involvement. Tennessee school district staff trained on how white Christians are privileged, polyamorous are oppressed. Yep, you heard me right. A Tennessee school district, their staff was trained on how white Christians are privileged. It's happening under your noses. The Clarksville-Montgomery County School System held an Engage conference on July 19th to train staff about oppression and privilege. From Fox News, a Tennessee school district offered voluntary training to its staff about cultural competency. And I will note, I have the phone lines open. If you or someone you know were at this training, are in the Clarksville School District or the Montgomery County School District, call me, 615-737-9986. I'd love to hear it firsthand from you. But here's what I got. A Tennessee school district offered voluntary training to staff about cultural competency, which included instructions that white Christian people are privileged while people of color and polyamorous people are oppressed. According to documents obtained via a public records request, the Clarksville-Montgomery County School System sent Parents Defending Education a presentation from the district's Engage conference, which was held on July 19th. Just in time for the new school year. You got to love it. The presentation titled, "The World Needs More Purple People." What? The world needs more purple people? At least get creative. Promoted the idea of using diversity, equity, and inclusion to connect. Yeah. This is definitely going to connect people. White Christians are privileged. Everyone else is oppressed. This is going to really, fuel connection and community, right? So the presentation is called "The World Needs More Purple People." And it promotes the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion to connect. In the presentation, it states there is a clear target to respond appropriately when encountering racial and cultural bias, helping those around me feel seen and heard. The presentation contained a privilege and oppression chart. According to the chart, privilege status corresponds to the labels white, men, cisgender, heterosexual, and Christian. Anybody shocked that that's on the privilege? That's on the privilege column. On the other hand, there was an oppression status, and that corresponds to the labels person of color, women, trans, non-binary, genderqueer, LGBTQ, polyamorous, asexual, aromantic, Muslim, Eastern, pagan, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist. So, I also think it's important to point out that they're also highlighting that they're doing training for trans, non-binary, genderqueer, LGBTQ, asexual, aromantic in the Clarksville-Montgomery County School District. Furthermore, the district learned about the difference between cultural competency and cultural humility and their definitions at the Engage conference. According to the presentation, the phrase cultural competency is understanding that the race and ethnicity of students should be considered under a method of teaching. Yep, no more merit-based anything. We're going to consider race and ethnicity when we're teaching. Cultural humility explains, it is helpful to see what others see. what they themselves have determined is their personal expression of their heritage and their personal culture. It's so funny that they say that. What they've determined is their personal expression of their heritage and personal culture. But if a white kid showed up wearing a Confederate flag shirt, that wouldn't be heritage. That wouldn't be personal expression. That would be racism. Just pointing that out. That would be hate, not culture, not heritage, according to the Clarksville, Montgomery County School District. The presentation goes even further by teaching staff that there can be trauma from language. Oh, got to protect the kids from the language. Phrases such as, take this to your mommy, were used as an example of trauma-inducing language. Trauma-inducing, take this to your mommy is trauma-inducing language. And I also want to point out that clearly this is aimed at young kids, because what high schooler do you know gets spoken to in a way of take this to your mommy? Right? Like, do any high schoolers say mommy anymore? I would wager that high schoolers aren't using mommy. This is crazy. So take this to your mommy. That's an example of trauma-inducing language. Other phrases like I don't see color and how did you celebrate Christmas were examples the presentation stated were negative and that people should avoid. Yeah, asking kids about their holiday, negative. But if I asked a kid, hey, how'd you celebrate Hanukkah? That didn't make the list. A spokesperson for CMCSS sent Fox News Digital a statement saying that the Engage conference has a mix of content developed by the district and content developed independently by educators. Educators are not required to attend, and they select their own sessions, the statement reads. Since this presentation was developed independently by educators and not developed by the district, I do not have any additional information on the presentation. Clarksville, Montgomery County School is in compliance with state law and does not require implicit bias training for employees. No, but let's be honest. If there's no, if this is voluntary, right? Voluntary. We've all seen with athletes, voluntary workouts, and then they get lambasted for not showing up to the voluntary workouts. But if this is voluntary and you decide not to voluntarily show up, are they going to voluntarily pass over you for a promotion? Perhaps. It at least identifies what side you're on. And sometimes in these woke environments, that's one of the most dangerous things you can do. So there's people that probably didn't believe in this that felt they had to go or they would be outed as a bigot or a racist. Unbelievable. A spokesperson from PDE told Fox News Digital, when a teacher training teaches that saying words like mommy and Christmas can cause trauma, we know we are dealing with unserious people. Yes, absolutely unserious. She continued, but these unserious people wield great power in their attempt to indoctrinate teachers into the repugnant belief that being white or male or heterosexual or Christian or able-bodied or an adult makes you an oppressor and is destructive and intellectually bankrupt, said the director of outreach at Parents Defending Education. If it wasn't so sinister, it would be comical that K through 12 teachers are being taught that polyamorous people are oppressed. This is all based on critical theory, and it has no place in our schools. And my friends, I tell you all the time, just because we are in Tennessee doesn't mean it's not happening here. Yes, we live in a red state. It's a conservative state. All the more reason why they're going to come at the kids. They know they can't convince you and I. They know that you and I see through the BS, so they want to indoctrinate the kids while they're young. This is how grooming works. It's crazy. This is how communists are made. This is how the critical race theorists and the leftist NPCs of the future are developed. Quietly, in darkness, when parents are asleep at the wheel. District staff were also given a reading list that features a resource called Safe Space Kit, Guide to Being an Ally to LGBT Students, from the organization GLSEN. According to that organization's website, there's a statement that says, while many LGBTQ plus inclusive schools support begins in middle school or high school, it is critical for elementary schools to establish a foundation of respect and understanding for all people. It's happening under our noses, whether you want to believe it or not. I mean, this is Clarksville, Montgomery County School District teaching the teachers that white Christians are privileged and everyone else is oppressed. I'd also like to point out, Christians are the most persecuted people on the planet, bar none. You know, when a group of Hindus were running around raping Christians the other week, it didn't make national news because that stuff is just part and parcel of being a Christian in most of the world. 7434 said, Tennessee is not as red as you think. There's a lot of purple out here. Unfortunately, I think you're right, 7434. As you can see, the people that are working in the school districts are very purple. 5186 said, if I were a teacher, I would go to that thing just to mess with them. Yeah. But then you'd be outed as someone who's not an ally, 5186. You got to be an ally if you want to get a promotion. Mike texted in, said, and the brainwashing goes on. Does the brainwashing ever stop, my friend? I don't think it does. We need more parents at the school board saying this stuff is not okay. You need to get involved in your kids' school district, in the PTA meetings. You need to be in the mix and know exactly what they're teaching the teachers and what the teachers are teaching the kids. You need to be absolutely vigilant as a parent because as you can see from this article from Fox News, the Clarksville, Montgomery County school system is teaching people that white Christians are privileged and everyone else is oppressed. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Larry texted in and said, Larry lives in Montgomery County, and then he made a joke. I'm not going to read that joke, Larry. Genderqueer is in all the metro schools, even the middle schools, says 3735. It is very graphic and has illustrations of sexual acts, and that is not even the worst book. Genderqueer is one of the worst books there is, and it is in all the schools. Mike, you're on line 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mike, you have a comment? Hey, Mike.
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, Mike?
Hey, so I lived at Clarksville for 14 years. All three of my daughters went through the school system. I retired out of the military at Fort Campbell, and I've got a good friend of mine that I served with in NATO. He was from Estonia, so we were both born in 1976. He grew up under communism. I grew up here in Tennessee. And he told me the exact same thing that you're telling everybody right now. If they said anything, they would be persecuted, especially like for Christmas. If they set up a Christmas tree, 5 years in prison right off the bat. And this has got so ridiculous. I had friends left in Afghanistan during the awful pullout. It's just, I don't know where to start. I don't want to rant and rave, but this is completely ridiculous. And I don't know. Like my girls are in college right now, and I've got 3 daughters, and they tell me all the time the indoctrination, and I'm not going to name the college where they go at, but it's here in Middle Tennessee. The indoctrination that they get on a daily basis, they're like, look, we want to leave. This is nuts. This is crazy. So that's my comment. That's my rant. That's my rave. I'm sorry.
No. Don't say sorry, Mike. I appreciate you calling in. Thanks for the call, bud. I really do appreciate it. The super texts are coming in, too. 8214 texted in and said, this is all true. I work with a lot of high school kids. Oh, my goodness. They're all clueless. Kyle texted in and said, I went to Clarksville schools, and they are the most diverse, and everyone gets along. It's a military-based town, and not many stay long, so everyone is accepting to newcomers, but this is just unexcusable. You're absolutely right, Kyle. It is a military town. I think that's probably one of the reasons why they can slip this under the radar. Like you said, lots of newcomers, lots of people in and out. So there's nobody there, keeping score. So parents have to be vigilant. Parents have to be vigilant. It's on parents. 9800 said, This goes all the way back to the way we train our teachers in college. We have got to change it before it starts. You're absolutely right. This problem is in colleges. That's why there's organizations out there like Turning Point USA that are on the college campus forcing that conversation. 6398 texted in and said, why do they pay them for this indoctrination? I don't know. But teachers got to learn that Christians are privileged, and white Christians especially, and everybody else is oppressed. At least the teachers are learning that in Clarksville, Montgomery County school system. What are they doing in your school system? I hope you know. I hope you know what your kids are being taught. If not, you got to get involved because they will sneak this stuff in. 615-737-9986 is the super text line. It's also the phone line if you want to chime in. It is 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Thank you for being here.
Still watching for that indictment. Details at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, anytime the Bidens get in trouble, Trump gets indicted. It's like the Christmas movie, Wonderful Life. Like every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. So every time there's a new Biden revelation, we get a new indictment for Donald Trump. It's so weird. Hey, we were just talking about the Tennessee school district, the Clarksville Montgomery County school system. Their staff was trained on how white Christians are privileged and everyone else is oppressed. And I just love the super text line because we live in such a great area that everybody's like in on the conversation. So I've had a lot of comments coming in. From 0931, Clarksville Montgomery County Schools teachers pick 18 hours of in-service. The central office approves all of the choices you have. They knew exactly what this in-service was. Interesting. Thank you for that, 0931. So that, that's the jarring news. But if you're not in the Clarksville, Montgomery area, maybe you're in Murfreesboro like me, I got another text from 3467. I teach in Rutherford County and have been in a faculty meeting all day going over policy. Not one mention of anything to do with DEI or gender stuff. I'm proud of my administrator. And we are proud of them too. 7434 texted in and said, we are fighting it in Sumner County with a liberal school board. They pass books that are challenged, and they are clearly against state law, graphic descriptions of sexual acts. They listen to the ALA instead of parents. Well, 7434, I'm just happy that you are in there fighting the good fight because somebody has to. Parents need to be involved in this stuff. So, 3616 texted in and said, how ironic that it's the white liberals that want to tell minorities they're oppressed when it's the white liberal party that oppresses them. Amen, 3616. In case you missed the story, Tennessee school district trained on how white Christians are privileged. This just broke last night. Apparently on July 19th, they were training staff in Clarksville, Montgomery County school system, holding an Engage conference where they had a whole PowerPoint presentation about how, privileged people are white Christians and people of color and polyamorous people are oppressed. Pretty interesting things. Presentation contained a privilege and oppression chart. Okay. So two sides of the privilege chart. One side's privilege, one side's oppression, right? Under the privilege status, white, men, cisgender, heterosexual, and Christian. It's just a picture of me and Mac. And then on the other side, on the other side was the oppression status, and it was person of color, women, trans, non-binary, LGBTQ, polyamorous, asexual, aromantic, Muslim. It was everybody else. It was just me and Mac,
so just you and I,
and then the rest of the world. So.
We're going to get lonely, man.
We're going to get at least we got each other, pal.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
So we're busy over here checking our privilege, but I think that you as a parent, you need to check your school board, okay? Because this is happening everywhere. I got a text that said, hey, Chris, please don't use my name. My spouse works for a high school in Middle Tennessee. The alarming thing to see is how the students are also proud of their identity unless they're straight white Christians, but so unconcerned about their grades. Nobody seems to be concerned about grades anymore. It's all about diversity and equity and inclusion. Even LeBron James at his school, he's not worried about the kids passing math class. They're worried about, selling the goods of DEI. Jeez. I mean, it's not shocking. And I've warned against it before, but I just want to point out that it is your job as a parent to know what's going on in your school district. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. Don't trust them that they're doing the right thing. Verify that they're doing the right thing. That's your duty as a parent. Full stop.
Yeah, get in those meetings. Get in those board meetings. Make yourself heard.
It's free to go.
Yeah.
There's no ticket cost. Just go. Get involved. Ask the questions. Look at the books in the library. Do all the things you need to do as a parent to make sure that your kids are taken care of. It's on you first, all right? It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1130. Time for the news.
.30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Well, the brakes are being applied to the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway renovation deal. Bristol Motor Speedway today requested a pause in consideration until after the election and a new mayor and council are seated. Money news, Jim Ryan watching Wall Street.
August has begun with lower stock readings as investors search for direction. Late in the morning, the Dow Jones was meandering between plus and minus. The S&P and NASDAQ composite had both surrendered about 0.33%. Shares in Uber fell 5% despite the company's recording its first operating profit. CEO Derek Khosrowshahi acknowledged that the rideshare company missed analyst expectations for second quarter results, but he offered investors a sunnier forecast for the rest of the year. In the workforce supply and demand, supply might finally be catching up. The Labor Department reports that job vacancies and layoffs ticked downward in June to 9.58 million. On top of that, layoffs slipped below 1.5 million. Ford Motor Company has reopened the Dearborn, Michigan plant where it produces the electric F-150 Lightning pickup truck. The automaker slashed the price of that EV by up to $10,000 in July and watched as orders soared sixfold.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you. And it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. No kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's the new Tom MacDonald and Adam Calhoun song, American Flags. That was sent to us by a super texter, 615-737-9986. I love crowdsourcing good music. Tom MacDonald's one of my favorites.
Heck yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of news going on. Our country is it's a mess, from the school districts to the highest offices of the land. And there may have been something that you missed. And I think that a lot of us missed it because we aren't paying attention to this organization anymore. It doesn't have the clout that it once had. Project Veritas. Everybody familiar with Project Veritas? I'm sure you are. Well, they released a video last night that has gained barely any attention at all. Now, it could be a couple of things. It could be the news cycle with Joe Biden. I'm sure that is affecting it. It could be Trump's pending indictment. I'm sure that's affecting it. You know, those are the big stories. But I think it's also because James O'Keefe is no longer with Project Veritas. So people stopped checking them for anything relevant. But they released a video last night that I think is absolutely relevant. It is Ashley Biden on the phone asking Project Veritas to return her diary. Yeah, they released the phone call where Ashley Biden confirms that the belongings in their possession were Ashley's, including the diary. Here's part of their video. Oh, give me some audio, Mac.
So I heard you have a few of my belongings, and so I was going to ask if you could please meet my friend Eric.
That's Ashley Biden talking.
Who is down in Delray? If you could meet him and get this up to him.
There's a diary here. It starts in January. It says January at the end of a New York month. I'm sitting on a bed at the I building.
Yeah, so if you could just give everything that you have to Eric, that would be really great.
I don't want to give this to the wrong person. I mean, I want to make sure.
At this point, and I don't mean to. I don't want to have to get Secret Service involved in this, right? Because it's a whole process.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I am Ashley Biden. It is my stuff. So if you could just give all of that over, I would really appreciate it. I know you sent a picture to my husband with a camera and a few other things that are mine as well. So that would be really great. Where is a good place for him to meet you?
So that's part of the video from Project Veritas where Ashley Biden is on the phone confirming that the diary where she said that her father used to take inappropriate showers with her is her diary. It's crazy. The Biden family is sick. Plain and simple. I mean, that excerpt from the diary is disgusting. And that's Ashley Biden confirming that it's hers. And I don't know why it's not getting any attention online. I don't know why it's not being talked about. I have my theories. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that James O'Keefe is no longer in Project Veritas, in their ecosystem. And I feel like they lost a lot of credibility when they lost James O'Keefe, at least in the public. I know people personally that have different feelings about James O'Keefe, but it sure seems like this should be bigger news. But it's only got, it only had like 40,000 views on YouTube, a little bit under that. I mean, Project Veritas was racking up millions of views back with their COVID exposés, when they were going after CNN, millions upon millions of views. That organization tanked themselves by getting rid of James O'Keefe. Absolutely tanked themselves. And speaking of tanking themselves, the Biden crime family continues to tank themselves. I mean, yesterday during the day, Devon Archer testifies that, yes, Joe Biden was on the phone. He was. John Turley stopped by Fox News to talk about what is going on with Devon Archer and the Biden crime family.
Well, what we now know, quite frankly, is that the president has been lying. I mean, he lied during the presidential campaign. He lied as president when he had to have his staff repeat that he had no knowledge, no interaction with these business dealings. That's clearly false. I mean, these are accounts of almost 24 calls made with these associates, some of whom are the most corrupt figures in Europe. Where the vice president would call in. That's the point of influence peddling. When Archer says that he was there to sell the brand is influence peddling, and Joe Biden is the object of that influence peddling. And so you need to show that you will have access, that he's just a phone call away.
And that's exactly what they demonstrated. You know, a lot of Democrats will say, oh, they just were talking about the weather. But that's the point. It's a quick phone call to get Joe's ear on something. That's what they were demonstrating. The brand is influence peddling, according to John Turley. And he had this to say about Rep. Goldman continuing to defend Joe Biden against these new Devon Archer allegations.
And what's amazing is that you have people like Representative Goldman saying, you know, when he's put on the speakerphone, he didn't actually, deal with business. Yeah. Well, no one expects that in the middle of Cafe Milano that you're going to order that the prosecutor in Ukraine gets an ice pick and then order breadsticks. I mean, the point is that we have him on speed dial. And what we also know is that we've had millions and millions of dollars transferred through this labyrinth of accounts that seem really designed to hide these transfers to the Biden family. That's the sort of apex of corruption. I mean, I've been a critic of influence peddling for decades. I've never seen anything like the Biden family.
Nobody has seen anything like the Biden family. I mean, the evidence is there. If you're new to this side of the aisle, I suggest that you go through it and do research on a few things. The laptop from hell, the Twitter files, the FBI whistleblowers, the IRS whistleblowers. Start digging into that stuff. Do your own research. I don't want to tell you how to think, but this is becoming clear as day. And Democrats like Rep. Goldman, they still will continue to defend the Biden family, no matter what. No matter what.
Representative Goldman made this sound like he was calling his son's travel soccer team. I mean, these were almost 24 calls with these corrupt business figures from Ukraine, Russia, and China. And the president called to show that he was part of the brand.
He is the brand. That's the whole point. And yeah, you're on the phone with corrupt business officials, corrupt businessmen. Joe Biden should have known who his son was meeting with. But the Democrats will deny this, right? Of course they will.
You can deny most anything, but the American people are not being fooled. The polls, really indicate that. They see this for what it is. I mean, it is corruption. The question is, what did they get for their money? Not just what they thought they were getting, but what they might have gotten for their money. We have to find those answers. And what's astonishing to me is for Goldman to come out and say, can we go away now? I mean, can we just call it a day? You just had the close friend of the president's son saying that he was part of selling an influence peddling brand. I don't think this is the time that most people are going to feel it is to take a powder.
No, but the president did take a vacation to go on the beach for 10 days. And that's where he is right now. He's just chilling on the beach throughout all of this. And the Democrats will try and make this go away. I mean, on CNN right now, they're talking about how Iowa voters don't know if Trump has the electability. Like, that's what you're covering on CNN? Trump's electability? You have Hunter Biden's former business partner corroborating the story that Joe Biden was on the calls, that Joe Biden was the brand, and our mockingbird media won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I tell you what, when Trump gets indicted in Georgia, which is probably going to happen any minute now so they can distract from the news of the day, which is this Devon Archer testimony, there's going to be wall-to-wall coverage on that. Blanket coverage on that. Again, this was John Turley, and he was on with Neil Cavuto, who I think Neil Cavuto is just a full-time shill. I don't really like him. I don't really like Fox News. But John Turley, I mean, he's got the credentials. He has the weight. And Neil Cavuto, again, full-time shill, he says he tries to basically cover for the Bidens. He said, well, how could Joe Biden know what was happening on the phone calls?
I think that it's the assumption is that he knew exactly what these meetings were about. It's just strange credulity that he flies to China with his son and doesn't ask once, by the way, where are you going to go in China?
Yeah.
Are you doing business here? That he makes all these calls to dinners with foreign characters, and he doesn't say, who were those guys? Why were you meeting? It's just not very believable
at all.
But I think that we also have other evidence that they shared accounts. There are some emails referring to a 10% cut going to the president, who was called the big guy. There were accounts of offices that would be paid for the president and the first lady. Hunter Biden himself complains about taking money to pay his father's bills. There was an exchange where Hunter Biden said, we're the best at this, effectively. And they are.
They are the best at it. I think if there's anything that you can say, the Bidens are good at this. They're absolutely good. There's certainly plausible deniability, right? But the receipts are there. You can read the emails. You can read the text messages. You can research the laptop from hell. You can dig in and research on the FBI and the IRS whistleblowers. Anybody can do this with an internet connection. What I'm doing is not special. I'm just doing research, and you can do research too, and I implore you to do so. Because they'll still try and tell you nothing's happening. They'll say no money has even gone directly to the president.
No money has to go directly to the president. There's lots of ways to benefit the Biden family. But the one thing that we can't do is just walk away. We have to find out the full story here. I think this is shaping up to be one of the greatest corruption scandals in the history of Washington, and that is saying a lot.
That is saying a lot. The greatest corruption scandal in the history of Washington. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're staring down the barrel at. The greatest corruption scandal in the history of Washington.
We got questions coming in on the super text for you, Chris. 6135. How much more damning information do we need?
I mean, Joe Biden at this point could be standing with the guy that cut him the check, holding up a newspaper with the date, and it could be a video saying, I'm going to go deposit this into my account, and Democrats would still say, there's no evidence. There's no evidence of anything. There's no influence peddling.
On the opposite spectrum there, you've got another super texture here. Larry says, can we be real for a minute? That testimony means nothing. It was not under oath. It does not mean a dang thing.
I mean, all right. Thanks, Larry. I don't know. Okay, so the testimony means nothing. What about the bank records? What about the emails? What about the money transfers? There's so much more that we can point to. Even without the testimony, there was copious amounts of evidence. But I can't make you see what I'm seeing, Larry. I hope that you do your own research. But again, I can't make you do the research. I can't make you believe any of this. Like I said, CNN is they're covering the hot button issue of Trump's electability in Iowa. So, I mean, we could be doing that. I could cover Trump's electability in Iowa if you think that's the big story of the day. Larry just said, no, I am not on the other side. All right, Larry. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be too hard on you.
Wait, no.
I wasn't trying to be too hard on Larry. Sorry, Larry. All right, but yeah, so this is where we're at. The Biden crimes. And they'll tell you it's nothing. I mean, even on the campaign, even during the debates, The president said it's nothing.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
So question to you.
No basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Joe got $3.5 million.
Yeah, Joe got $3.5 million. And more. And then some. More money rolling in. More accusations rolling in. More evidence mounting against the Biden crime family. And we're going to have coverage for you all day right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me off air. Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social. At Chris Hand on air. It's Super Talk 99.7. Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler Inc. As you know, I am a dad to 4 great kids, and I have a lovely wife, and we constantly think about the future. I mean, we're always trying to plan for the future. College, weddings, all of the bills that are dancing in my dreams, and it's nerve-wracking. But since meeting with Paul Winkler and his team and learning about their system, their Nobel Prize winning investment education that is evidence-based, I'm sold, and I decided to become a client. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do, and with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission, so they're big on education. And Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard. So because of that, I have to tell you, and the government regulators make me tell you, that I'm paid every time this commercial airs. But it's because I got to sit down with Paul and learn from him and break bread with him and come up with a plan with him that I decided to become a client. And I think that if you have worries about your financial future, time to put those worries aside and check out Paul Winkler and his team. Every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience, and you can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Experience equals confidence. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. You can set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
Looking for a luxury apartment community with the perfect